Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. Today is April. What did that say, Ben? I can't see it.
It
12th?
is April 13th, Thursday,
13th.
April 13th. Yes.
Oh my goodness. These glasses only work part-time. But this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. I can see a little bit better than him, but I do actually need glasses. Um, I'm Ben Dickerson. I'm your co-host. The draft is what, 2 weeks away?
Approximately.
Okay, so today I'm going to treat you guys to my mock draft 3.0. Yes, there have been some changes to everybody else's mock drafts. And because of some of the things that have happened over the last couple of weeks, I've made some changes to mine. There's been some guys on a lot of teams' draft boards that have been dropping down, and there's some new names that are climbing the draft boards at the same time. So my new mock draft 3.0, which I will treat you guys to today, will reflect some of that movement. But I'm really excited for this draft. I even watched the WNBA draft the other night.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was fun. You know, it's funny. I'm just saying this real fast because I thought it was funny. They're calling the girls' names out and they're coming up, and I know their name, but they all made up and their hair's nice and they got clothes on. They got dresses on and suits. And I'm like, and then they show highlights of them in the game. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know them when they're in uniform and sweaty and pull back in ponytails, but with their hair, they look completely different. It's amazing.
Yeah, I do too. When my hair is out completely and nah, I'm still. Yeah, I guess at like the guys, they get the special made suits and they got
Yeah,
all
but
the
they still
things.
basically look the same.
Basically, the
Their
only thing
face
about
and their hair.
football guys is that you actually get to see their face because normally they're behind the helmet.
Right.
So, speaking of helmets, you're going to do the mock draft, and then we're going to go to Ben and Barry on football on Facebook and look at all of the current events, all the things that are popping. There's news going off today, $6 billion announcements, helmets for quarterbacks only, all types of stuff to talk about. So, you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right, bam, it's on you. Ben Dickerson's mock draft
Oh, going right to me, huh? Without
3.0.
further ado,
I don't know if I
so
did that
so
correctly or not.
what I'll say off the bat is, of course, this is my mock draft and my mock draft alone. Yes, I have looked at others. Yes, I have watched film. Yes, I have taken notes of some information, inside information that the guys like Adam Schefter and Rappaport and those kind of guys have come up with as far as what coaches are saying after going to certain players' pro days and also after having interviewed certain players. And I'm taking all those things into account to come up with what I've got. If any of my picks sound similar to others' picks, it's just because we agree that that's where I believe that player will go according to the team that's picking at the time that they're picking and according to their needs. I did not do too much decision making as far as best athlete available. I tried to stick to each team's particular needs. So, of course, nobody's 100% correct when you do this thing, but it's still fun to do. Anyway, let's get right into it. If I talked about this player or players and I still have them going to the same team as I did in my mock draft 2.0, I will not say too much more about the player because I've already done that in our previous video. But if I did make some changes, I will definitely let you know. Now, first of all, let's go with the first pick overall in the 2023 draft, which belongs to the Carolina Panthers. I still believe that they're going to go with the quarterback, CJ Stroud. There's been some speculation that the Carolina brass has been kind of uneasy about whether they should take Stroud or whether they should go with Bryce Young. Bryce Young is getting a lot of late hype, even more than he already did. Obviously, these two guys were the consensus 1 and 2. But there seems to be some rumors of some questions with the Carolina brass. So, but I believe that they're still going to go with C.J. Stroud. I believe that Frank Reich has a type of quarterback that he likes, and I think the rest of the organization will kind of bow to what he wants since he is the head coach and since he has had a lot of success with different quarterbacks. So I believe they're going to stick with C.J. Stroud. Number 2 belongs to the Houston Texans. There's also a lot of rumors about the Houston Texans maybe not taking Bryce Young or maybe not taking a quarterback at all and either taking a different position player or even trading the 2nd pick overall. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to go ahead and they're going to take a quarterback, and I believe that quarterback will be Bryce Young. At number 3, now the number 3 pick right now belongs to the Arizona Cardinals. But over the last few days, there's been a lot of rumors about several teams having contacted the Cardinals in reference to possibly trading up for that 3rd pick overall. Knowing that the Cardinals are not looking for a quarterback this early in the draft, if at all, and with Anthony Richardson from Florida shooting up everybody's draft boards, I've heard more talk about Richardson than I have about Bryce Young over the last week or few days. Okay, he's coming up draft boards. Everybody's in love with this guy's potential. Even though his tape doesn't really match his physical attributes completely, the physical attributes and the things that people think he's going to be able to do is really taking over for him. So he's shooting up the draft board. Now, I originally had the Cardinals taking an edge rusher at 3, and then the Colts picking at number 4, taking Anthony Richardson. I think that's still going to happen, except I think that the Colts are the ones that are going to actually trade up from the 4 spot to the 3 spot, maybe throw a player or a couple other late round draft picks or picks maybe next year and toss those to the Cardinals to flip-flop places with them. That way the Cardinals get some draft equity, and they also don't drop down very far, so they're still guaranteed to get the guy they originally wanted. So all that being said, the Colts pick at number 3. They take Anthony Richardson. Then the Arizona Cardinals come in, and they stick with Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama. He's a three-year starter. He won a whole bunch of college awards, especially last year. He had a big year, All-American, SEC Defensive Player of the Year, blah, blah, blah. Just a guy that the Cardinals can't, bypass.
Can't let him go, eh?
Can't let him go. Not especially when they know they definitely need help on defense. And
Hey,
they
Ben,
need help. Yes.
I have this thing from the NFL where they have what's
Right.
called an athleticism score.
Okay.
So it says top QB athleticism scores. 99, tied with one Robert Griffin at 99, ahead of Tyree Jackson, Trevor Knight, and Tyrod Taylor, who was 96, 95, and 94. So he's got about as high of what they call an athleticism score as you can have, Anthony Richardson.
Okay.
So
yeah, he's a big time player. Let's see now. So number 5 pick overall goes to the Seattle Seahawks. I believe they will continue to stick with what I said originally and take edge rusher Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech. The number 6 pick belongs to the Detroit Lions. I believe they will take Jalen Carter. Now, I believe, let me just check my notes here. Yes, I did have them taking Jalen Carter originally. Again, this is a guy that had some off-field problems, which we won't necessarily have to get into, and I hope we'll never have to hear about them anymore. But again, a talent that a defensive-hungry team just can't let get by. Jalen Carter is a D tackle with good pass rush skills, can stop the run, quick feet. He has everything you need, prototypical defensive tackle. Detroit will not be able to let him go by. I'm sure they will pick him up at the number 6 pick. The number 7 pick belongs to the Las Vegas Raiders. Oh, by the way, obviously, during the real draft, there's going to be some trades made. Teams are going to trade up, teams are going to trade back. That's going to mess up my mock draft. It's going to mess up a lot of people's mocks because we have no idea who's going to do what and who's going to trade with who. But right now, these are the players I think belong on the teams that are picking where they are originally supposed to pick. Just wanted to throw that in there. So number 7 is the Las Vegas Raiders. I still have them sticking with the D tackle, Kalijah Cansey out of Pitt. Kalijah Cansey, I believe, is the guy that, no, I'm getting ready to say something about him. That's not true. So I'm not going to say it. I'm mixing him up with somebody else. Oh, yes, right. We were talking about comparisons last week, player comparisons of these guys in the draft and guys that are already in the NFL. His player comparison is Aaron Donald. Size-wise, footwork-wise, the fact that he is a really good pass rusher from the inside matches up well with Aaron Donald. He also went to Pitt just like Aaron Donald did. So, again, defensive help and defensive line help is what a lot of teams need, and that's what they're picking, and that's where I have these guys going. Now, number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. I have them taking an edge rusher also because their defense was pretty poor. This guy is real high up on a lot of teams' draft boards and has gotten even higher as the draft approaches. That is Lucas Van Ness. I believe I had the Falcons taking Nolan Smith originally. He's 6'2", 238. He's very undersized for that type of a player. Lucas Van Ness, this is funny. Lucas Van Ness, I think, out of Iowa, was not necessarily a starter early on in the season, his last season, but came on at the end. And even though he was kind of like a pass rush specialist, he really, really got the job done. Plus, he's got a heck of a lot more size. At 6'5", 272, I think the Falcons would go with him instead of the guy I had them going for originally, which was Nolan Smith. I think Nolan Smith may be actually dropping down on some boards because I haven't heard too much about him the last few days or the last week at all. At number 9, the Chicago Bears. Obviously, the Bears need help on their offensive line. Their run game is very important to them, not just with their quarterback, but also with their regular run game with their running backs. They're going to go with the guy that most people are saying is the best offensive tackle in this draft. That would be Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern. Also, Northwestern is very close to Chicago. So that sounds like a real good pick for them. Kind of like when Detroit took Aiden Hutchinson very high in the draft last year, and he was out of Michigan. So that's a good pick there for the Chicago Bears. I believe that's the way they're going to go. At the number 10 pick, and this pick belongs to the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a pick that may actually get traded. But for now, I'm going to say if the Eagles actually keep this number 10 pick, I originally had them taking a corner, but instead, I don't know if I missed this. I don't remember the date when this happened, but I was reminded that Isaac Seumalo, the offensive guard for the Eagles, is now gone. He is now signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So guess what? Osiris Torrance, an offensive guard out of Florida, can get signed right into that spot. I think he's a plug-and-play guy. He's a huge dude. He has tackle size, but he plays guard. 6'5", 347, started at guard for Florida for 4 straight years. Perfect player to replace Seumalo. And like I said, they can plug and play him right away so they don't lose anything on the best offensive line in the league. I did that in air quotes because that's what everybody does. Number 11, the 11th pick in the draft goes to the Tennessee Titans. Originally, I had the Titans taking Skoronski, but I don't think Skoronski is going to drop this far, which means that the Titans, who also need help on the offensive line, will probably go with Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright is out of the University of Tennessee. Again, a good fit here, fan-wise. Tennessee Titans picking a player out of the University of Tennessee. He's 6'5", 333, big and strong, and he excels in the run game, which, of course, is very important to the Titans and their coaching staff.
Ben,
Number 12, yes.
all the stuff I'm hearing about King Henry possibly being on the block.
Right.
I mean, they wouldn't do something weird like take a running back or anything like that, would they?
I doubt it. The reason I
You
doubt
get a
is,
lot of picks for King Henry.
well, first of all, he's not gone yet, is he?
No.
Okay. So maybe that'll happen and maybe it won't. The bottom line is, if it does happen, whoever becomes the running back there, they're going to need to block for him because chances are you're not going to find another King Henry. Okay. So, the offensive line has got to be shored up for whatever running game they're going to have.
Well, you could find
Chances
a
are,
Bijan Robinson though, couldn't you? Oh.
okay. All right. I like that. I tell you, the reason I'm hesitating is because I love Bijan Robinson. I love Bijan Robinson the same way I loved Saquon Barkley when he was coming out. Okay. This guy really, really gets you excited when you watch him play. He's amazing. But this whole running back and they get hurt and you don't want to pay a lot of money and that thing is over running backs' heads right now, and everybody's reading into it and everybody's believing it. I find it hard to believe that they would take a back this early, even a guy as good as Bijan.
Okay.
Okay. And again, it's been a little while. Usually a player like Derrick Henry, if he's on the trade block, that trade's going to happen right before or possibly during the draft. If it doesn't, he's probably staying. So again, I think they'll go offensive line. Excuse me. Now, the number 12 pick in the draft belongs to the Houston Texans again. They're going to need a wide receiver, especially if they take Bryce Young. And even if they don't take Bryce Young, they need receiver help if they want their offense to be any kind of way decent. I think this guy out of TCU, again, Texas Christian University, to a Houston Texans team, a good fan pick. Quentin Johnson, this guy averaged 18.8 yards per catch in his college career. He's a big kid, huge wingspan, very explosive, gets in and out of his breaks really well. Good route runner, not great route runner, but a good route runner, but he's got really great size, real tough on 50-50 balls. I think he'll fit well there with the Houston Texans. If they do take Bryce Young with the number 2 pick and come back at number 12 and take Quentin Johnson, I think we got a nice little quarterback wide receiver combo that we'll be able to look at for a few years coming up. The number 13 pick belongs to the New York Jets. The New York Jets, I believe, am I keeping them with? No, I had the Jets. Where am I? 13? Oh, right. Originally, I had this pick going from the Jets to the Packers in the Aaron Rodgers trade, which has not been consummated yet. I've been listening, and I've actually seen and heard the GM from the Packers say it may not take a number 1 pick this year or a round 1 pick this year to make this trade go through. So if that's in fact the case, if they will take a future number 1 along with a 2 and a 3 or something along those lines, then the Jets get to keep this pick. Let's move on to pick number 14. New England Patriots, offensive tackle, Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State. That was the original place I had Johnson going, and I'm going to keep him going there. Patriots do need help on their offensive line. Okay, number 15. That's not going to change for me either. 15th pick in the draft goes to the Green Bay Packers. They need a tight end. I have them taking Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. I believe on the last video I explained that with Jordan Love coming in as the starting quarterback, although there is some other tight ends that are possibly better route runners and pass catchers, Michael Mayer is a guy that can do both that and blocks really, really well in the run game. Okay, so I have him going to the Packers with the 15th pick. The 16th pick belongs to the Washington Commanders. I originally had the Washington Commanders going defense and taking the first cornerback to be selected. That would be Christian Gonzalez I believe that pick is going to stay that way. Christian Gonzalez is probably, and this is very arguable, there's a lot of good DBs coming out, especially at corner. There's a bunch of good corners coming out this year. It's a heck of a class. So there's going to be questions about who's the best, but you're about to see a little run on DBs at this point. So the Commanders take Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon at cornerback. At number 17, the Pittsburgh Steelers go cornerback also and go with the Bloodlines and take Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State. And then at pick number 18, the Detroit Lions, who I originally had taking Devin Witherspoon, I believe that's Witherspoon, who's the corner out of Illinois. I think at this point, they will rethink that and they'll go after cornerback Deonte Banks, a guy who, again, is one of those guys that's rising up teams' draft boards after looking at tape and talking to scouts and watching pro days and having interviews and things like that. He's becoming more and more popular. He's a little bit bigger than Witherspoon, and he's faster, and he excels in man coverage. So I think they'll rethink that and they'll go with Deonte Banks. Now, at number 19, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go offense. I'll stick with the original pick I had for them. That's offensive tackle Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma. They're going to go that way. At the number 20 pick, the Seattle Seahawks. Where did I have them going? I had them taking a DB also. But I think now, if Deonte Banks is gone, they'll go with Devin Witherspoon. He had a real outstanding season in 2022, but I didn't hear too much talk about him in the earlier part of his season, which kind of means he's getting hot there at the right time and really showed his best game, his best college game, at least this past season. So he's coming in looking really good. At pick number 21, the Los Angeles Chargers will take a wide receiver. This guy has climbed up draft boards dramatically. I didn't even mention him in my 2.0 draft. This is Jordan Addison out of USC. Now, Jordan Addison actually started his college career at Pitt and was catching passes from Kenny Pickett, who's now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He then transferred to USC and continued to play really, really well. I believe when he was with Pitt, he won the Fred Biletnikoff Award, which goes to the outstanding college wide receiver. That wouldn't have been this past season. That would have been the season before. So he's shooting up draft boards. An elite route runner. He thrives from the slot and from the outside wide receiver position. So I think the Chargers are going to go after him because they don't really have a game breaker. You know what I mean? They got a big play guy, Mike Williams, and they got a short yardage possession type dude in Keenan Allen. So this guy would fit in very nicely with them. At the number 22 spot, we have the Baltimore Ravens. I think they will stick with a wide receiver. I think they still believe they're going to get Lamar Jackson to play for them, and they know that he needs receiver help. They're going to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is an excellent route runner, very smooth, seems to be uncoverable in man-to-man, gets good separation all the time on all his routes. So I think they'll stick with him. At the number 23 pick, we have the Minnesota Vikings. I believe they will stick with my original pick for them. That is Cedric Tillman. Now, you probably haven't heard a whole lot about Cedric Tillman. This is one of those guys where I'm doing my Howie Roseman thing, picking a guy that nobody's talking about, okay? But I think he fits for them because he's a big possession receiver. He's got good size, runs good routes. He's not outstanding at either, but his size makes him great as a possession receiver. 6'3", 213 pounds, 33-inch arms, 10-inch hands, okay? And he has been known to bully some DBs on 50-50 balls. So I think Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee fits very well with the Minnesota Vikings. At the number 24 pick, I had Jacksonville taking a DB. I'm going to stick with that. That's another corner out of Mississippi State. His name is Emmanuel Forbes. I think they'll stay with him and they'll take him. At number 25, now 25 belongs to my New York Giants. I think they need a receiver. I think they will take a receiver. But I originally had them looking at Jalen Hyatt, another guy out of Tennessee, 6 feet, 176, runs a 4.440. Okay. I'm going to change that because another guy who was already being talked about was now being talked about a little bit more. Zay Flowers out of Boston College. Very fast, very athletic, in and out of his routes real quick, gets good separation on all of his routes. I think Zay Flowers is the guy they're going to go after, number 25. Number 26 belongs to the Dallas Cowboys. They definitely need a tight end because they're letting Dalton Schultz go in free agency. And I like Dalton Schultz. I thought he was good, a good tight end. But they're going to go after the tight end who's probably the best route runner. This guy's 6'3", 246. His name is Dalton Kincaid. He's out of Utah, but he has wide receiver skills. His route running and his pass catching will remind you of a big wide receiver. That's Dalton Kincaid. Number 27 belongs to the Buffalo Bills. This is the team that needs running back help. This is the team that I believe will take Bijan Robinson out of Texas. The number 27 pick, the Buffalo Bills take Bijan Robinson, obviously a day one starter. If you watch his tape, you'll go and you can sit and watch his tape all day long. Dynamic runner, fast feet, change of direction, got soft hands in the passing game. You can hit him in the flat. He can run a wheel route for you and catch that and outrun everybody. He finishes his runs with authority. That's the one big weakness that the Bills have on their offense, and I think he will fill that need. At number 28, the Cincinnati Bengals will probably, they need help on defense, but all the best corners are kind of gone. So I think they'll go safety because they really need DB help. The best safety, I believe, is Brian Branch. He's out of Alabama. And the good thing about Brian Branch is not only does he play safety, but he also can play slot corner. So he's a good cover guy. Not the speediest guy, but has very good cover skills, very good ball skills, and he's an elite tackler. You don't hear that too much when we talk about DBs. This guy tackles really, really well. Number 29, New Orleans Saints. I had them going after linebacker Trent Simpson out of Clemson. I'm going to stick with that. I think they'll go ahead and take that linebacker. At number 30, the Philadelphia Eagles, if they don't trade that pick away, I have them taking Miles Murphy, who's an edge rusher out of Clemson. I believe they will go ahead and do that. And I believe at number 31, the Kansas City Chiefs will go after the guy that closest emulates Tyreek Hill. And that's the guy that I originally had going to the Giants. That's Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. Big time speed, elite after the catch skills, closest thing to Tyreek Hill in this draft. And that's it.
Closest thing to Tyreek Hill. It's
Yes.
last pick in the first round of the draft. Number 30.
Right.
Wow. Wow. I have to look for some tape on this guy, man. We talked about closest thing to Tyreek Hill there. You know, that's pretty good. It's funny because you were talking about DBs and how many DBs is, are available. Apparently there's, a good amount, a wealth of DBs to some degree. And I'm reading this article about my Niners, and they're looking at this one guy who's supposedly elite, but he's like 5'6".
A DB at 5'6"?
Yeah, but this guy's
really small.
But he's like a Tyreek Hill type guy with his leaping ability and his ability to plaster on people and all.
He must not be able to catch.
Huh?
He must not be able to catch. He's probably got bad hands.
Or he'd be a receiver, right?
Or he'd be a receiver, right?
Well, we'll see. But it's just interesting when you were saying how many. And I'm thinking this. I'm reading this long article about a 5'6" guy, and it's like there's plenty of them out there. So you do have choices.
Not at DB though. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
NFL teams would be afraid to go after a guy like that.
So they don't even want to go but get Bryce Young. He just at this point.
Well, no, I think everybody's kind of sold on Bryce Young. The reservations have been talked about enough. People are still saying his other talents are so great that it makes up for his lack of size. So basically, the lack of size thing just comes down to, is he going to be able to stay healthy?
Well,
I don't think it's going to hurt his game.
That's the big question. I mean, I don't think anybody really questioned whether he had game. It's obvious that he has game. You know what I mean?
Right.
The question is, once they get their hands on him, like Tua, and they'll be slamming him down into the ground. Now, one good thing he's got going for him, Benny, and we'll talk about this maybe a little bit more in the next segment, is the new helmets for quarterbacks only that have been designed just for such scenarios when they're slamming these guys into the ground and their heads hitting the turf. Technology might actually work in his behalf a little bit. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Congratulations on version 3. Man.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to stick with this one, man. These are hard. There's so much information, so much, and I'm only doing the first round. There's so much information about these guys, and they're finding out new stuff about these guys every day. It's a little bit too much for the kid.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, what was his name? Herndon or something like that, the quarterback.
Now, who did I say was going to the Vikings? I had the Vikings taking Zay Flowers. No, Cedric Tillman, right? Cedric Tillman is from Tennessee. Hendon Hooker was his quarterback at Tennessee. Kirk Cousins, this is the last year of his contract. So guess who I think the Vikings are going to try to get early in the second round? Hendon Hooker. Yeah.
His touchdown to interception ratio is like ridiculous. I mean, it's like,
yeah,
and I'm gonna throw
He's actually a pretty polished guy. He's been around for a while. He's 25.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And it's like at first you didn't hear anything much about him, especially with Richardson, hitting the waves the way he hit it, and everybody was like, man, this guy is, great. But then all of a sudden, out of the clear blue sky, I started hearing about, and then Hooker, 6'4", got good size. Because I didn't want to misquote his.
He is coming off of an injury. He's rehabbing an injury right now.
Okay.
But they're speculating that he'll be ready for training camp. And so, but he's got enough good tape out there for people to be sold on, on his skills. So I don't expect him to go far past the second round at all.
I see here, apparently he had 5 years, 3 at Virginia and 2 at Tennessee.
Yeah, there you go.
He had career-wise 80 touchdowns, 17 interceptions.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was like, holy mackerel. And he's second round now. We're talking second round for him.
Yeah, and he can run, and he's got good size, kind of like Anthony Richardson. He's not a little skinny guy. Like, he can take a hit.
Right.
And he can deliver too.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at Ben and Barry on football on Facebook. All right, Betty. So we're going to go to our Facebook page and we'll jump around a little bit and touch base on some of the things that are happening. Let me just give you a little, just get your football juices going a little bit here, Benny. How you like this? Check this out. This is kind of stuff we used to do back in the day when we were playing. A little tip drill. Oh, don't you love it? Little tip drill there, man. Drill. I tell you gotta have the football juices continue to go, man. It's just, you know what I mean? Something to do for sure. All right. Let's see here. Flag football scholarships for the ladies. You got to give it to the NFL, man. I mean, they're building this fan base from the ground up to some degree. 60 schools have told the NAIA they will start flag football in the next 3 to 5 years, expanding the game on the collegiate level. They're talking about giving scholarships now for flag football. Then,
great.
What do you think about that? Is that awesome?
I think that's great. It opens up Some things for the ladies out there. Another sport that normally you would think that women wouldn't be able to participate in, but because it's flag football and because recreational flag football for women has been so popular over the years, that it's being expanded. And if colleges are willing to take that on, obviously because they think it could possibly be a revenue producing sport, that they're willing to give scholarships for it, I think that's a good thing for the schools and for the girls.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, now, is that just girls? Like they don't have men's scholarship flag football?
I haven't heard a lot about that as far as scholarships, no.
Okay, I'll have to look into that, man. Can't be discriminating against the guys.
Well, you don't want to, you don't want to say that.
Congratulations. Enjoy your retirement. Former Broncos executive John Elway. He's just a Broncos legend all the way around. Time to step down, time to smell the roses, do what you want. What do you think he's going to do, Benny? He's going to come back like Tom Brady?
Nah, John Elway's done. Stellar career. Been in what? How many Super Bowls has he won? 2, but he actually was in like 6 of them, darn near. Remember, they lost 4. Oh no, I'm sorry. What am I saying? I'm thinking about he didn't lose that many. He did lose a couple.
Yeah, he lost a couple.
He lost a couple, but he won his last 2. A great career, put up great numbers. He'll go down when you talk about quarterbacks with strong arms. His name will always come up.
He had legs.
Yeah, he actually could move. He took some wicked hits though. At the end,
remember the helicopter?
that was one of them. At the end, his legs were a mess, man. He was out there looking like Joe Namath, man.
Oh my goodness.
He was running like, oh my God, please don't. But he had a lot of heart. And like I said, he had a rocket arm. He would make throws that other quarterbacks wouldn't even attempt. So, great career.
Elway.
Yeah.
All right. Benny, did you get a chance to check this chart out?
I was looking at it, but it was making me dizzy. So,
it was part of this article, and I pulled it out, and I was like, okay, So it reminds me, in stock, you have what's called a heat map. And the stocks that are going up are in green, and the ones going down are in red. And sometimes your heat map is all red or all green or a high mixture. Mm-hmm. But it's one way to kind of see what the people who publish this think about the weaknesses and the strengths of each particular team. So if you look at the Eagles, obviously they have the red mark there for running back. They figure they got to get this up at running back. They're not quite trusting a couple guys that are there, and they expect the Eagles to go out and get a running back. Miles Sanders is still on the block, isn't he?
No, Miles Sanders is gone. He's in Carolina.
Oh, he got picked up by the Panthers?
Yes, sir.
All right, there you go. So in any event, if you're out there and you're checking out the show and you want to go to Ben and Barry on football, you'll be able to see this chart, see the article associated with it, and check that out. I think it's very interesting. Take a look at. We're going to skip over the final day of the NBA regular season, Benny. I just decided to bring this in, see where everybody stood.
This doesn't tell us anything.
That was just you know what it did tell me? Is that
half the starters didn't play in these games.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Most of these games I didn't even want to watch because the starters weren't in. I kept seeing people I don't know that guy. Who is that guy? Benny, why didn't you guys go back and go get your man back? I'm gonna bring him back to the Giants.
They talked about it. They talked about it. I don't know if they made him an offer, or I don't know. I don't know the details of what's going on, but I know he was talking to the Giants as he was talking to several other teams. But evidently, the Ravens made him the best deal.
The Ravens supposedly, and Lamar's all around them, and they got pictures of him hanging out with them, and
Yeah,
all this kind
they've
of
been
stuff.
back and forth on Twitter and all that. So evidently they heard some scuttlebutt that probably made them think that, hey, if we can get Odell, perhaps that will be a good bargaining chip for us to get Lamar to come back and maybe soften his stance about this contract. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know that Lamar did contact Odell after he signed, and supposedly the conversation was pretty positive. So we'll have to see what happens on this
All right, all right. That's going to be an absolutely amazing combination right there. We had a birthday. Happy eternal birthday, John Madden. That's why we opened up the show with a little bit of Madden there, because that's my thing. And I always like his 3 rules, right? Be on time, pay attention, and play hard. Now, I would only probably have gotten 2 of those right. That first one I always struggled with a little bit.
one.
These guys, what is it in the circles where they're showing people how to be the best of themselves and everything, and then talk about being on time. They're talking about, if you're on time, you're late. If you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. That type of thing.
Right.
So, but pay attention and play hard. Those I definitely didn't have a problem with. So, and it's very interesting, watching the video of him during his time as a coach, and everything that he went through. It wasn't easy for him either, He had to do some real coaching.
Yeah, but you know what? That was one of those situations where everything kind of fell into place. They actually should have won a couple more championships than they did. Just so happens that when they were really good, somebody else was really, really good too, like the Steelers or whatever. But
yeah, don't you hate that?
Yeah, that's well. Talk to Patrick Ewing. Talk to Elijah Wan.
Yeah.
When we were really, really good, freaking Jordan. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of situation. Yeah, but he was the perfect coach for the team that they put together. He was probably the only guy that could relate to that many different egos and
the
crazy
personalities was crazy.
Personalities, yeah. He was perfect for that situation.
Snake, all those guys,
man. All those guys.
Much less the crazy owner.
Really?
Much less. Man, how about 4 years, 94 million for Jeffrey Simmons?
Not bad.
He was on TV today, man, talking about, growing up and what they went through, and tears just rolling down his eyes, man. I don't know what's 4 in the 90. 4 in 100 is 25, so he's not quite 25, but he's pushing up toward that per year. So, man,
these are the kind of contracts that everybody that comes into the NFL hopes that they get one day. You come in, you got to do your rookie deal and all that, and then you hope that you play well enough in your first 3 or 4 years that you can get yourself a nice multi-year deal. Sometimes guys don't do that. I know running backs, since we were talking about running backs and money and Saquon and all that stuff, if you can stay healthy for your first 4 years and it comes time for you to finally sign your second deal, you hope that you're healthy enough, still young enough, and still productive enough that you can sign a multi-year. And when I say multi-year in football, I'm talking about somewhere between 3 and 5 years. If you could sign a 5-year deal as a running back, you're golden. Chances are you're going to sign a 3 or 4 year deal, but you want to break the bank on that deal because you may not get another. Even if you have longevity, you'll be signing 1 year, 1 year, 1 year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because every year they're expecting you to break down.
Well, and again, that's part of the challenge when you have a quarterback like, Lamar. I mean, they equate that to him to some degree.
Which is why when we first started talking about this weeks ago, I said the first mistake was Baltimore not signing him to a long-term deal as soon as he finished that MVP season. They should have paid him right then and there.
Okay. All right. I've heard other people say that also, for sure. I mean, I don't have the article here, but there was somebody who bought their mama a house, and I didn't put
That
the
happens a
article
lot.
in. Huh?
That happens a lot.
I know. We love those type of stories, though, man.
Yeah, somebody was just on. They said they went down to their mom's job and went to her boss and said, she don't work here no more. Pack your
Right.
stuff. Let's go. We
Thank you,
out.
sir. All right. That's what I'm talking about. That's what
Right.
I'm talking about. Cliff Kingsbury joins Lincoln Riley at USC. Part of the team that drafted Kyler Murray. He'll now coach #1 pick in Caleb Williams. I'm not as familiar. You familiar with Caleb?
Caleb Williams will probably be the first quarterback taken in the 2024 draft. He will at least be talked about, just like we're talking about Bryce Young right now.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, like I said, it's who you know.
Yeah, but Kingsbury's not going to take what's that offense he runs? That air raid thing or whatever it is. Yeah, that's not going to go to USC.
That's
They're
not
good.
going there. It's
Nah, Lincoln Riley's got his own offense. Lincoln Riley is a very, very good college coach who's had a lot of success in college. Chances are Lincoln Riley will be the next guy that some NFL team tries to lure away from college, like they lured Kingsbury away, and Kingsbury will end up being the coach at USC. Watch and see.
All right. We have a hot take here. Kingsbury to take the position in the next couple of years.
If Lincoln Riley goes to the NFL.
Okay. All right. Is this the one you said, Peter King? You said you had some thoughts on this, where he talked about the difference between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, which signifies a change in the NFL.
Yeah, I understand what he's saying about the differences, but I don't know that. Let's see how they worded here. How the difference between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud signifies a change in the NFL. I don't think the differences between these two particular guys really signifies anything. I think the change in the NFL that he's talking about has already started to take place. It really, really started to take place with Lamar. At this point, you're almost crazy if you don't try to get a dual threat or at least a mobile quarterback. The days of the pocket passer are coming to an end. I'm not going to say they're done, but the pure pocket passer, the Bradys, the Roethlisbergers, those guys, that day's coming to an end, man. Everybody wants a quarterback that can move. Because first of all, the rules kind of dictate it. You don't need the big, strong guy sitting back there in pocket taking hits and having dudes hanging on him because they can't slam. Now, they still do it, but it's against the rules to slam quarterbacks, to fall on them with all your weight. So the rules rule against that kind of stuff, okay? And if you have a mobile quarterback, chances are that he won't be back there sitting there like a sitting duck to take hits like that.
What do you think about his statement about it becoming more of a horizontal short passing game overall?
I will agree with that. I will agree with that. And
that's the change that he's mainly talking about. So he's saying that these guys they're getting rid of the ball quickly. They're throwing a lot of quick passes.
Yeah, but they both do that.
Bases, and then you throw it to Tyreek Hill and let them go 60.
I agree, but I'm saying Bryce Young and CJ Stroud aren't that different in that respect. They both have that in their game. CJ Stroud's not a bombs away guy. Now, depending on what team he goes to, if he goes to Carolina, I don't think he's going to be a bombs away guy. Now that they traded DJ Moore, I don't even know who their receivers are, come to think of it. So, but he's proven that he can dink and dunk, and he's got the arm to get downfield. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a CJ Stroud guy anyway. So
right.
what can I tell you? What can I tell you? I'm gonna skip this one. Mystery of the first round. This another excerpt by Peter King. And then I'm just gonna skip through this real quick because I kind of just brought his whole piece here, but there was two parts to this. And I thought it was very interesting, especially when we start to talk about mock drafts and stuff, because they
Right.
have a certain amount of history.
Yep.
So he says, Mystery of the first round, example one, among those making or strongly contributing to high first round picks, Carolina, with a first year coach and a strong will owner picking first. First year coach picking first. A GM
Well,
and
now, but he's a first year coach on that team.
he's a
Frank Reich
first
has
year
been
head
a
coach,
coach in the
right?
NFL. He's a head coach. Yes. So it's not like he's inexperienced,
Well, he's not
but
completely.
He's new to that team.
And the he that we're talking about is
Frank Reich.
Frank Wright. Okay. Nick Casario. He says, who's as secretive as his former boss, Bill Belichick, picking second. A GM running his first draft in Arizona, Monty Ossiford, picking third. A
Yeah,
GM in his
he's
second or
new.
third.
These guys are all new.
Yeah, that's his whole point.
Holmes, Ziegler, Fontenot,
A lot
Ryan
of new
Poles.
guys picking
These
high
guys
in the
are all on
draft.
their first. They're all on their first or second draft in their lives.
That's his point.
Yes.
That's
So
his point.
trying to speculate how they're thinking or what they're going to do is out of the question. Like you can't even, you know.
Yeah, because they don't have any history. You can't go by,
Right.
not much history. So that was mystery one. All these new people that are getting an opportunity to pick very high in the draft. But mystery number two, he says it used to be that there were a few mock drafts by veteran scribes with sources inside draft rooms that were used by teams for homework.
Yes. These are
Okay.
people who are not on TV like Mel Kiper and these other people every week. Oh, I think this is going to happen and that's going to happen. These were just writers that maybe would put their ideas of what they thought were going to happen in whatever newspaper or magazine they used to write for. It's before the internet. Okay. This was just something that they just threw together because they were like, this is what I think. This is what I feel. I've been told certain things by certain unnamed sources, and I believe blah, blah, blah. So it wasn't that big out there thing like it is now. Every time you turn TV on, the janitor at CBS has a mock draft app. Look, a knucklehead like me is doing mock drafts. You know what I'm saying? Back then, they didn't even call them mock drafts. Those guys were saying, I've been covering the NFL, and I know the teams, and I have some sources inside each team, and I believe this is how it's going to go. And teams believed in these guys. These guys watched a lot of film because they were writers, so they had to know what they were talking about. And they actually leaned on some of these guys. Crazy as that may sound.
Yeah, that's what he was saying there. He said the Cowboys are like, what is this, Rick Gosselin?
Yeah.
All-time pro football writer. They're like checking what's Gosselin say for this?
Yeah. I
So
think
then when
there's
the
still
Eagles
guys
call
out there
you and
like
ask
that.
what find out what Ben said for
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But you know what? Peter King, we just talked about Peter King. Peter King is one of those guys.
right.
People do respect what Peter King says.
Okay. Well, we talked about the position helmet now for quarterbacks designed to reduce concussions. And I do believe you can thank Tua for helping to usher this thing in right away because they were slamming him and he didn't even need them to slam him. He'd fallen back and hitting his own darn head. So this will be interesting to see. I didn't see, it seemed like they said there was about a 7% improvement, but it didn't seem to me to be that spectacular. But I guess anything that helps. So
were they specific about what it was that they actually did?
No,
I
they
mean,
just talked about the design.
did
It's
they
the
stick some cotton
design.
balls in the back of the helmet or something? You gotta give me more than that. Come on, y'all.
We'll find out more. We'll post more as the information comes to light. But they just made this announcement like today. I'm going to skip this for right now, Benny. I want to go to the big news of the day. Dan Snyder, Josh Harris Group reached agreement on Commander's sale for $6 billion.
So this is actually done now.
All but the writing hasn't been.
Okay, so the Canadian guy with the long name is out now, right?
Yeah, the guy with Magic Johnson as one of his minority owners is in.
Right. That's cool. Okay,
So
that's good.
we
So
talked about
so
that. So if this gets done before the draft, like I said, it might upset the draft.
there's a possibility of that, although Josh Harris isn't the meddling type. Like he owns the Sixers, or he's at least the majority owner of the Sixers. And he pretty much lets the GM and the coaches handle business.
Okay. All
So I
right.
expect him to continue to do that. He owns a hockey team. I think he owns the Jersey Devils in the NHL. And he's got something else too. Can't think of what it is. But, you know, I would assume that people in these organizations would consider him a good owner because he's not a Jerry Jones. You know what I mean? He doesn't try to, you know, exert too much authority.
Not trying to be the
decision-making.
GM and owner, right?
Right, right. He's just the owner. He picks good people and he says, yo, make me some money.
Do your thing. Do your thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Benny, we're about to wrap it up, but I saved this for last. Shout out
Yeah.
to my now favorite screamer. This is the DeMar DeRozan's 9-year-old daughter. Did you watch this game at all?
Yes. Me and Desiree were sitting watching the game and she's like, who is that screaming? And I was like, oh my God.
I'm like, call the police. I'm hearing these screams. I'm like, is somebody attacking somebody?
So did you get the thing I sent to you? It's the same picture, but it's got a stat on there. Evidently you didn't get it. So this says, and I think her name is DR.
Yeah, something
DR
like that.
DeRozan. She had 36 screaming distractions. So 36 foul shots. She screamed on 36 times, and they missed 18 of them. That's crazy.
They shot
That's
50.
insane. Yo, that's freaking great. What's that? More than 50%?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Holy smokes. Yo, unbelievable. At the Sixers games, they give us those things that you clap, make a noise. And them things don't distract nobody.
Well, first
but
of all,
that blood-curdling scream.
When she's screaming, the arena is quiet as a mouse because it's the home team taking a shot. So everybody's quiet. You hear this one little,
yeah, it's perfect. It was perfect. Amazing.
And the funny thing was, I was listening to This Just In, and they were talking to one of the guys, and he's like, well, yeah, he's like, but they can't continue to let that go on. Like,
why not?
Well, like I said, when the visiting team is up at the line, everybody's making noise.
Exactly.
So she's by herself. And apparently she begged him to let her stay off school that day and go to the game so she could support him.
Yeah.
And that's my bull. So when I saw them playing, I was like, I don't get a chance to watch them play. And I turned the game when they're down like 17. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah. No, they came back from 19 down. That was the worst. On the road.
On the road.
They could have packed it in, bro. They could have packed it in and went on vacation.
I'm telling you.
One and done game. One and done game.
We got a couple guys from the Lakers that, I've had some reservations about, but they actually played pretty good. One is, who's the guard that wears the headband all the time?
The bald-headed guy?
Yeah.
Caruso.
Caruso.
Yeah.
He
It's
actually
not
played
bad.
pretty well. He played pretty well.
He's what you call a glue guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. And then we had what's the crazy guy that wants to fight all the time? Oh,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Pat Beverly.
Pat Beverly. So that's two guys from the Lakers that came over. But he didn't do too bad either, Pat Beverly. He got in there mixed
No, they're role players, man. They're
in
role
the
players.
late, yeah,
And
the late
remember
part.
at the beginning of the season, I told you, I said, yo, your team looks good. Your starting five is great, but I don't know about your bench. Remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's that they kind of struggle because if a starter gets hurt and your bench is weak, you're gonna lose games. You know, it's great to have a great starting five, but you gotta have bench. You at least gotta have a proficient six man, if nothing else. You know, but I think that's why they struggled a little bit during the course of the season. But this is that time of year. If you get everybody healthy and then they pick up a couple role players here and there, they can do some damage. But you know, how far are they going to go?
that is the question. That is the question.
So they play Miami next, right?
I do believe, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely rooting for the Bulls because Miami gives the Sixers trouble. So,
Jimmy
but
Buckets comes to play when he gets to Philadelphia, don't he?
all the time, all the time. I watch him play other teams. I'm like, Jimmy, what are you doing?
He was missing dead straight layups in that last game.
Crazy, man.
At the rim layups. I'm like, Jimmy, what is going on with you?
Yeah, it's like he's not inspired. When they play the Sixers, he goes off. So if they beat Miami, then they have to play the Bucks. So that's probably the end of that. But you know, if they can knock Miami out for me, I'll take it.
All right, there you go. There you go. All right, well, that's it for me, Benny. You got anything lastly?
No, I think I'm done. There is another running back out there named Jahmyr Gibbs that I think will probably get selected early in the second round, since we were talking about running backs. And I know you and I both love running backs. It's a shame what these guys are going through nowadays because every team needs a good running back. As much as they talk about they don't want to pay these guys and they have short careers and this and that, excuse me, they're stiffing them for this money, man. But everybody needs one. Everybody wants one. It's really a shame. So between Bijan and Jahmyr, I don't know too much about anybody else because the other positions were so rich this year that I didn't want to miss anybody there, especially the DBs and the edge rushers. Those are the guys that are going to go mostly. But other than that, yeah, I'm looking forward to the draft. That's it. Looking forward to the draft and the Sixers. That's it.
Well, also let me mention we're going. I watched a little XFL.
Oh yes,
and they're down to. I think they're going to the ninth game of the season now. They're just about done.
Okay, yeah, it's almost.
I had actually started looking at. I'm trying to. They don't give you the good stats that we used to get with the NFL. So point differentials and stuff are a little more difficult to. You got to do all that stuff manually and calculate it. But I did see some games. They had the first, what was it, overtime or something like that?
Yeah, the DC Defenders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really starting to like them. I was kind of leaning toward the Houston Roughnecks as my favorite team, but I like the Defenders now. But what worries me about them is they can't seem to make up their minds about these doggone quarterbacks. You cannot take the guy to move Tamu. You can't pull him out indiscriminately and bring De'Aaron King in and have the guy fumble in and get tackled behind the line and all that stuff. Save that guy for when you get in the red zone. You know what I mean? And make it clear that Tamu is the starting quarterback. He's the one that moves the team. De'Aaron is the gadget guy, pretty much. And they'll be all right, I think, if they do that. Also, USFL starts this weekend, I believe.
I do believe they start on Saturday, yeah.
Okay, when I was waiting for you to hit me up today, they were replaying the championship game.
Right.
Birmingham Stallions against the Philadelphia Stars. Right. So we do have a Philadelphia team in the USFL. And let's keep an eye on them because they were the highest scoring team in the league last year.
Yes, they were.
And they drafted a whole crap load of offensive tackles.
Yeah, that's right. I remember.
So that I'll be watching their running game.
All right, there you go.
That's it.
That's it. Talk to you later.